Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tips and Tricks Tuesdays with me, Valentina V. It's so good to see everybody in the chat room. We have Sean, we have Noor, we have Steve. Hello, hello, hello. Today is a fun day because we're going to be talking about how to create a how-to video. My name is Valentina V, and I am a filmmaker living in Los Angeles, but I do projects for clients and brands all over the world. At any one point in time, I could have between 8 and 20 different projects that I'm working on. Some of them I'm directing, some of them I'm editing. And I don't really do YouTube. Like, I am a host on a YouTube channel about cinematography. Clearly, you're watching this on Behance, but it's going through YouTube. But I myself am not a YouTuber. So, giant caveat to what I'm about to show you because it looks like a YouTube video, but oh boy, it is not. Today we are talking about how to edit a DIY video. I feel like this is one of the most prevalent topics on YouTube, whether it's a DIY that's related somehow to makeup or a DIY of how to fix your car, how to play the piano. YouTube University is where it's at, I think. And I want to help you help people. Help me help you. Where's that from? Anybody know? First person in the comments. Bruce, hello. Steve, hi. Valadair, hi. Hi, everybody. Okay, so I made something for this DIY and I want to show you what it is. So let's pop over to my computer desktop here and let's take a look at the files actually that I have. So I have here my footage. It's called Art DIY, and I have all these folders inside: footage, audio, graphics, music, photos, yada, yada, yada. Literally the only thing that I am using right now is the footage folder. So if I double click the footage folder, I have two cameras that I was shooting with. My main camera, the Sony a7S III, the lovely camera I'm shooting with right now, and the iPhone X Max, I think that's what you call it. The iPhone shots are all sort of these like overhead, over my shoulder shots of what's going on the table. It's always good to have a second angle, and the A7S III is that first angle. You'll also notice that inside of this folder, I have a folder called Proxies. Because I was shooting in very high quality 4K, I created proxies, which are just more easily digestible files that will allow me to play through my footage smoother. And also for the purposes of this live stream, if I happen to overload my CPU, then all of the audio and video will completely be unsynced. Isn't that fun for live streaming? So looks like P. Siller, Paco coming in with the Jerry Maguire knowledge. Yes, that was a Jerry Maguire quote. Thanks, Paco. So if you open up the proxies folder, you are able to see what the actual files are, and they'll play through nice and smooth. And this is my DIY project that I am making. Oh my goodness. I turned my earrings into what looks like, like a nice little display that you can walk by at the flea market, I'm guessing. But I think it looks pretty cute, and it's a lot better than what it was before. So the video that I'm going to be making is the how-to of how I made that. So these are all of the clips here. There are really just 7 clips, and the rest are at the end. I show you what it looks like in the close-ups. And all I did was I brought them into Premiere here. So I just dragged them directly in, and I then selected all of them. So I selected the first one, held down Shift, selected the last one. I right-clicked, and I went to Proxy, Create Proxies. And then here, I actually have already created some proxy presets for me to choose from. Let me turn on I always forget to turn on my zoom tool because it's invisible, Okay, there we go. So my presets were I have a bunch of presets here. You can choose something like the default H.264 low resolution proxy and then click OK. They all load in the back end of Adobe Media Encoder, and that's all you got to do. And then to turn the proxies on and off, you just hit the proxy button right here. So this is the toggle proxies button, and that will toggle them on and off. So just as an example, let's play the second clip over here without the proxies on. Looks like my mic is a little hot right now, so I'm going to turn it down. How is that? Is that better? How is that? Hopefully this is good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully my mic is a little bit better now. I turned down the gain. So I have here this video, and right now the proxies aren't on. So let's see how well it plays back. Of course, it plays back super well because it's on my computer, and my computer's a supercomputer. But to turn the proxies on, I just hit this button, and it's now a lower resolution version. It's not even that much lower resolution. It's still 4K. It's just like a lower bit rate, but it helps me scrub through it faster. Also notice that I'm scrubbing through this clip and it's not playing any audio. By default, Premiere has the option enabled that while you're scrubbing, you can hear the audio. A lot of how-to videos are kind of like right now, where it's a tutorial and I'm talking directly to you and you need the audio. For this how-to video, this is a little bit of an easier way to do it, where you don't actually need to know everything that you're doing. You just do it, and then you write some voiceover and fill it in later. So for this, I don't even need the audio. So I turned off the audio scrubbing. And to do that, you go to Edit, Preferences, Audio, and there is a little play audio while scrubbing box that I unchecked. And that way, because none of the audio is useful to me anyway, it's just dead silence, right? So why should I need to scrub through that? So the first thing that I do when I approach a project like this with 2 cameras that needs voiceover, but that I haven't written the voiceover for yet, is I start thinking, okay, well, what was the order of things that I did anyway? I don't remember. So instead of going through every clip and watching it, I just start making a string out right away of all of the clips, and then I write the voiceover. So I have this sequences bin here, and in order to create a sequence that goes in this bin, while I have it highlighted, I'm going to go to New Item over here and select Sequence. This is going to be a standard video for YouTube. Of course, I'm going to reversion it for Instagram later. But for now, for the YouTube version, that's the one that I want to do first. I'm going to select the very first preset here under Available Presets. ARRI 1080p. 23976 frames per second. If you go into the settings, you can see a little bit more detailed those settings, including the aspect ratio, which is 16:9, which is the standard aspect ratio. You are actually viewing me on a 16:9 aspect ratio right now. So I'm going to give the sequence a name, and I'm going to call it main string out. This is a technique that I also like to do with documentaries when I'm directing seasons of shows that were shot months prior, and I literally don't remember what happened. And I need to not only know what we shot, remember the episode, but a lot of this is then put into different segments that go out of order. So it's good to know and have a little refresh of everything. So in this case, while maybe in previous tutorials, you've seen me work within the project folder, within the clips and bins, and then pull out things using in and out points, which we'll still do later with the iPhone footage. I would say first, let's just throw all of this onto the timeline. So I'm going to select the first one, scroll all the way down, select the last one, and put it in. Now, something that I want to note is that when I had my proxies enabled here, which means right now I'm looking at the low resolution version of the footage, the proxies became enabled here for my program monitor. Now that my program monitor shows what's in my timeline, right? What's in my working timeline. Whereas my source monitor shows me the active clip that I'm looking at. So every time I click a new clip, it pulls up in the source monitor. And every time I move my playhead over here, it pulls up in the program monitor. Now, you may notice there's something a little bit fishy here. It's all zoomed in. Well, why is that happening? Because when I pull up each clip here, they are not zoomed in fact. So why is this zoomed in? Well, it's because the timeline itself, the sequence is 1080 by 1920 by 1080, right? So this is 1920 and this is 1080, whereas the clip is 3840 by 2160. It's 4 times the size. So if I zoom out a little bit, that's a bit, go to effect controls on this clip here and select the word motion, I'll be able to see the edges of that clip. And as you can see, the clip is giant, right? So I can scale it down however I want, but I know exactly how I want to scale it, right? I want to scale it to 50 because 50 is that exact number that's going to pop it in. So I'm going to just write in 50. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to simply set it to frame size. So let's do it with this second clip over here. I'm going to right click and go to set to frame size. And as you can see, the scale jumped to 50 because I set the size of the clip to the size of the frame. There's also a shortcut. So I'm going to do it for all the rest of these clips here. I'm going to select all of them. See, right now I'm zooming out just to show you that I'm selecting all of them, but this shortcut works without zooming out as well. I'm just going to go Command A. And that selects all of them. As you can see, all of them were highlighted. If I was zoomed in, right, like this, and I did Command A, it would still select all of them, not just the ones on screen. And then I will go Shift Control F, which is my shortcut for set everything to frame size. And now everything is set to the frame size. Oh, I'm also reading the Behance chat, just to let you know. So if anyone has any questions, now's a good time to ask because I'm live with you. This isn't pre-recorded. I'm live. Also, if you have any just like general questions about my life, just kidding, but also not. I have a roommate. We're planning on moving. We got awful neighbors, and that is the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, so let's go back to this. So now that everything is set to the frame size, remember I said I don't need the audio at all. So let's just get rid of it. If I select each clip, you can see that the audio is automatically linked. That's because the camera was recording audio, right? And automatically that audio is just linked. You can tell because it has a little V in brackets at the end of each clip name here. Little bracketed V. That means that the video is linked to the audio. So if I want it unlinked, all I got to do is right click and select unlink, right? So I'm going to do that shortcut again where I select all of them, Command A, right click, go to unlink. And now you can see there's no V in brackets behind the file name. It's unlinked. And I can very easily just select all the audio and delete it. There's another way to do this without unlinking that automatically unlinks it for you, because as soon as you delete the audio, it's unlinked, right? There's no audio, there's no link. So I can do this a different way. If I go undo, I can just hold down Alt and select all the audio. And that way it selects it without respecting the links. And then I can delete it. And now that all that's gone, perfect. Let's see. Larry asked, is that shortcut a default shortcut? Good question, Larry. No. So I don't know what shortcut you were talking about, but depending. So the Command A, that's a default shortcut. That selects everything. The set to frame size is one that I created. So if you go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and then just type in what you want. So in this case, it's set to frame size, and you can see these are shortcuts that I created. After you've been editing for many, many years, you create your own shortcuts, and then you just don't want to switch to the default ones, or a lot of things may not have default shortcuts, but you may use them so much that you would want shortcuts. Like, for example, fill gaps is a shortcut that I use all the time that has no default for it. So, all right, now that I have my footage all in my timeline, now it's time to make that string out. It's time to call through this footage and see what I even did so that I could create a voiceover. So first of all, let's scrub through this. This was a bum take, hated it, didn't like it, delete it. So I'm gonna go Command D, and that just ripple deletes it and moves everything forward. Then I'm gonna go to right before I say hey. So put my playhead right before I say hey, and then I'm gonna press the Q button on my keyboard. That is a default shortcut, Q, and that inserts a cut at the playhead and deletes everything to the previous cut. So in this case, to the beginning of the whole sequence, I'm going to say Q. Then I'm going to go to, see this, I am engaged. It's not, I'm disengaged with the camera. I'm showing off my ears. And I'm going to go to right where I point at my ears, because that's where I want the transition to happen. So I'm going to go left and right on my keyboard, right, there we go. Right at the point, right before the point. That's where I want to cut it. So I'm going to insert a cut right at the point. So I'm going to say Command K, and then go forward, wait for me to put on these earrings, and then do the move again. And right where when it lands, there we go, and boom. And now I'm going to do Q again. Bam. And let's watch that transition. Pretty good. So I'll go through, let's just say that I go through this real fast and I add the transitions. I'm going to go willy-nilly through it because I already did it earlier. So I don't really need to be as accurate. So let's just say that I went through these transitions. Now, when I'm filming, I don't know if this is something that you do, but when I'm filming, I have either a very good idea of what the voiceover is going to be, or I have written the script already. So in this case, I didn't have a script written, but I knew that I wanted to talk about the different various reasons why I have acquired so many different types of earrings, right? So I wanted to get a good variety of earrings. Like I wanted to get earrings that were holiday earrings. I wanted to get earrings that I've gotten on vacation, earrings that I've made myself. And here I am indicating to my current earring storage woes. And then I'm doing the infomercial face. Actually, this would be a perfect thumbnail if I did YouTube, I think, because it's just so much emotion, so much disgust. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely not. That's where I'm disengaged. So I want to put a cut here. I do Command K again. See if there's anything left in this entire clip. Nope, all of it's useless. So I'm going to say Command D and cut the rest of it out. I'm going to keep going. So here I go like, but hold on. Let me put a shirt on. And this is another one of those transitions where I got to make sure that it's somewhat seamless. So right before the shirt lands, I'm going to do Command K. and then wait for me to put the shirt on, come on back, wait for me to redo that same exact move. Nope. Come on, Valentina. There we go. And Q again. And let's see. Nope. You see how it didn't quite line up? Now, if you want to rewatch a section of your video over and over and over again, it's really easy. Like, say I want to rewatch this transition so that I get it perfect. I can place an in point and an out point, and then use the loop playback tool to watch it over and over and over again. So I'll set the in point right here by pressing I. I'll set the out point right here by pressing O. And then I'll make sure to enable the loop playback tool. Now, if you don't have the loop playback tool, it's probably hiding in your button editor down here. So you can click on the button editor and then pull it down to where your buttons are. Loop playback. So now I can see this very rough transition, and I can edit in real time as well. So maybe right there, I press Q. That's a lot better, huh? Maybe a little bit less, just one frame less. That's it. That looks seamless. Okay, great. That's a very TikTok thing to do, to throw a shirt onto yourself. Roland says shortcuts can be synced to the cloud, upload and download as and when you want to. Okay, so I'm going to do a Command K right when I become disengaged. Then when I pull this up, here we go. That is my first, let's say, ingredient. What would you say? Tool? First thing to get? First to do? What would you call this section where I'm showing what you need for the how-to? I have a couple options. I have one from the back and I have one from the front. Which one should I use? Should I use the front one or the back one? Scissors, a couple options for that. I like holding things in front of the camera. It just makes everything so like creamy in the background. Now, I know that some people prefer to do color correction at the end, but sometimes I have an idea for color correction that I know I will forget if I do it at the end. So one good way to sort of keep it throughout is to just apply it on your clips as you go. Now, I am probably going to be applying like an overall color correction to all of the clips, so I don't have to worry about that. But these in particular, I want to remember to do a vignette for these that are close-ups of the objects. So I'm going to go to Window and Lumetri Color. And I'm going to go over here to Vignette. And I'm going to add a black vignette with a pretty severe midpoint, and I'm going to feather it a lot. And if you go over here to Lumetri Color, you can press the effects button to toggle it on and off. Yeah, that might be a little severe for you, but I like it. So I'm going to select Lumetri Color effect, Command C to copy it. And now I'm going to select all of the other close-ups, Command V. And that way it's already on there and I have not forgotten it. And it'll just carry through for the rest of the video. Now here are the big chunks of stuff. And you know what? I'm not going to bore you with cutting down all of this because I've already cut it. So there it is. And let me actually add that color correction to these again because I forgot to do it. There we go. Okay, so this is the full string out and it is cut. Now, if we want to watch through it, it is fairly easy to do so really quickly by using the JKL keys. So let me take it down to 1/4 resolution and just press the L key to fast forward. And then I'm going to press the L key again to fast forward even faster, and then press the L key again to fast forward even faster, and then press it again. You get it. So this gives you a good, oh, that was a little too fast. This gives you a good speed through all of the footage, and you can see what I'm doing. And based on this is what I would then, write my script. That first I remove the frame, then I do one coat of black paint. And of course, like right now, this video is 27 minutes long. How do I know? Well, because it says 27 right here. This is what the current time indicator is doing. This is currently, it's at around 4 minutes. And this is the total over here. If you set in and out points, then these numbers will change. But, this is a good way for me to sort of look through it, make sure that whatever the voiceover is that I write is in order. And when this is done, before I start messing with it, I'm going to duplicate it. Every time I add something new, every time I change something, I like to duplicate my sequence so I can always go back to the one previously. This way I'm working non-destructively. I'm creating steps. So right here, this is the string out sequence. Main string out is the demo one that I just showed you. So I'm going to delete it. So just to not get confused. And then I'm going to hold down Command and then drag down, and that duplicates it, which is a little shortcut. You can also just right click it and go to duplicate, and that will duplicate it too. So instead of string out, I'm going to call it O1 with VO. So O1 with voiceover, and I'm going to double click on that. And now O1 with VO is open. And now very easily and very simply, I'm just going to record my voiceover directly into the timeline. How cool is that? So you can see here, there are actually 3 options for the music tracks, right? There's the mute option. So to not play the music track, the solo option, and the record option. And that is what I'm going to use. It's going to give me a little countdown, and then I can read my script. So let me pull up my script here. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I've already read it once, but just to show you how it works, I'm going to read it. And I'm also going to take off my headphones because I'll have feedback in my ear. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to press record here. And don't worry if it doesn't line up with the video, because we're going to make the video fit later. So here we go. Hi, I'm Valentina, and I collect just one thing, earrings. I always pick up a pair when I travel. I make quite a lot of them. It's my go-to gift to ask for. And I have a pair for every occasion. I have over 100 pairs of earrings. But my problem has always been storage. And then when you're done with your voiceover, you can press the spacebar. And there we go. It's already appeared in your timeline. What? And it has appeared right here in your project window. It appears just at the end of everything, so you can drag it into your audio folder if you have one, if you've made one. If you haven't, then you can make an audio folder. And voila, there it is. It's been recorded into my timeline. Now I'm going to get rid of the one I just recorded because I recorded one earlier that I'm going to pop in instead. So this is the full voiceover with warts and all, with mistakes and all. And what I want to do to this voiceover is trim it up nice and neat, the same way that I did for my video without affecting my video layer. So I'm going to lock my video layer completely. And in fact, not only am I going to lock it so that I can't get at it at all, but I'm also, before I lock it, I'm going to toggle it off, the visibility. So I can't even see it, so it doesn't distract me. So I'm only working on the voiceover at this point. Annika says, looks so easy when you do it, right? I know it's a little tougher when you're on your own and you're, on Creative Cow forums at like 2 a.m. and you don't know what to even Google. Looks like, yeah, I did take off my headphones because of the feedback. That's why I didn't record all of the voiceover for you during this live. So I'm going to go into it and listen to what this sounds like. Hi, I'm Val. That was a bum take, right? Hi, I'm Valentina V, and I collect just one thing, earrings. So it starts right there. So I can place my playhead there and press Q, and it ripple deletes everything in front of it. Hi, I'm Valentina V, and I can go through it even faster by pressing L as I'm listening. I've gotten pretty good at listening to everything extremely fast. Dare I say, I now watch movies at 2 times speed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to every filmmaker. Just one thing, earrings. I always pick up a pair when I travel. I make quite a lot of them. It's my go-to gift to ask for, and I have a pair for every occasion. I have over 100 pairs of earrings, but my problem has always been storage until today. They were in this frumpy hanging jewelry organizer, and I wanted a better way to store and display them, so I invented it. Yes, here's how I created this beautiful piece of... So what I want to do when I say, here's how I created this beautiful piece, on the word this is when I actually want to show the final product, right? Something in how-to videos that a lot of people do is they'll show you the final product right up at the front, at the top, to tease you, to get you intrigued. And since I'm doing the voiceover right now, I don't want to forget at which point in the piece I said the word this. So I'm going to add a marker to indicate it. Store and display them. So I invented it. Yes, here's how I created this. So right on the word this, I'm going to put a marker on that place in the timeline by pressing M. Now, as you can see, it is a point marker that has appeared on my timeline, but I want it to be a durational marker. So I just hold it, and while holding down Alt, I drag it out, and now it is a durational marker. If I double click it, I can change the name of it. So final shot, and I press OK. So this tells me this is where I put the final shot. Now, by default, the markers are going to ripple whenever you change anything in your timeline, right? They're going to ripple forward and back, but I want this marker to always be here and to not ripple back or to not ripple forward or whatever. So I'm going to go to the markers menu and uncheck ripple sequence markers. Now, what do I mean by ripple? Check it out. So say I was to place my playhead right here and cut everything. See, it ripples. But no, I don't want it to. So I'm going to go to sequence, or I'm going to go to markers, ripple sequence markers, deselect that. So now it doesn't ripple. So it's always going to stay there for me, which is great. I can always turn on rippling later if I want to say maybe like add an intro to this video, right? Then I would want the markers to ripple, because the markers, I would want them to ripple with the voiceover rippling as well. P. Siller says, I'm so guilty watching videos at 2x speed. Definitely something you pick up when editing for hours. For sure. Bruce Gonzalez says, this proves it. Valentina is a bot. How did you know? I am quite robotic. And also, you never know what is the true me. Does she have blue hair? Does she have brown hair? Does she have glasses? Does she not? Who is she? Did it? Yes. Here's how I created this beautiful piece of functional art. But first, I need to change into something I won't mind ruining. So again, I say, but first I need to change into something I won't mind ruining. That's better. So that I want it to be a point marker. So I will press M. And then let me actually change it to orange because I change into orange. So I'll know that's where I want that change to happen. That's better. To build this, I needed an old poster frame with the cardboard. This plastic black mesh I got from the fabric store. Scissors, black acrylic paint, a foam brush, super glue, a fabric poker, and a needle with black thread. Let's start. Okay, so I need to cut all that out, right? So let me place a cut right there, Command K, and then I want to cut everything from the playhead to the next cut point, to the cut point I just placed. So I'm going to press W instead of Q, and that's going to cut everything from a playhead to the next cut point. At least on the audio track, because that's the only one that is active right now. Oh, and let me hide this so that you're not distracted. Let's start. First, I took out the cardboard from the frame and put the frame away until the very end. Then I covered the cardboard with black acrylic paint. It kind of looked patchy at first, so I added a second coat. In hindsight, I probably should have used a brush instead of the foam thing since it absorbed so much paint. This took about an hour to fully dry, but I was impatient, so I started cutting out the mesh to kind of fit the size of the cardboard. Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the back. Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the black inside of. Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the black side of the cardboard. Ended up using 2 superglue tubes. Okay, so I need to cut that out. Command K, Q, board. Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the black side of the cardboard. Ended up using 2 superglue tubes. This wasn't a permanent solution, just something to hold the mesh in place. Then I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all 4 sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my meat. Then I used the fabric pokey thing. Command K, Q. Then I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all 4 sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread layer. Then I used the fabric pokey. One more time, Q. Then I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all 4 sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread layer. When the superglue was dry, I trimmed off the excess mesh. I then went through the painstaking process of sewing each side, trying to evenly distribute the pressure. This took maybe an hour. When it was finally done, it looked like this. I added the frame back on. It fit quite snugly this time. Then I laid out where I wanted my earrings to go and then threaded the hooks through the mesh. Ta-da! Art. And now before you comment that I'm showing off my earring collection and someone can steal it, not a single earring here is worth more than $2. I just like looking at them. Great. So it is all cut up. And now I will do the complete reverse of what I just did, right? So I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to lock the track with the audio and unlock the video track so that I can start using that same technique to line it up faster. Hi. I'm Valentina V, and I collect just one thing, earrings. So right on the word earrings is where I want that transition to happen, right? But the transition is sort of set. So what I have to do is cut out the middle of it. So I'm going to go to kind of where the beginning of this is. I'm going to press Command K. Then I'm going to put my mouse over this area, press A, and then click. And that's going to select all of the clips after my mouse. And then I'm just going to drag it so that that word earrings lands on the cut. And I collect just one thing, earrings. So now this little short clip right here is too short, I think, right? It just doesn't work. Let's try this one more time. Let's listen to it while watching. Hi, I'm Valentina V, and I collect just one thing, earrings. So let's fix it, right? Let's move that cut a little bit over again because the needs to land on earrings. So I'm going to select, go to A, select everything, then go back to V, to my selection tool, and then move that cut over. And now what I want to do is I just want to slip this cut over to the left a little bit. So instead of going like this, no, too many steps, right? I'm just going to use the rolling edit tool, which is N. I'm just going to roll the edit over. Hi, I'm Valentina V, and I collect just one thing, earrings. Now, this right here has a jump cut, right? And maybe I don't want that jump cut. Maybe that looks a little too rough. Well, guess what? I shot this in 4K. So I can actually scale up this first clip a little bit, not show the full extent of my set quite yet. There we go. And now that jump cut looks a little bit more natural.
Hi, I'm Valentina V, and I collect just one thing, earrings. I always pick up a pair when I travel. I make quite a lot of them. It's my go-to gift to ask for, and I have a pair for every occasion. I have over 100 pairs of earrings, but my problem has always been storage until today. They were in this.
So right here is where I'm talking about the frumpy. So I'll put a marker there just so that I know that that's where I start talking about like my frumpy storage situation. And my frumpy storage situation shots start right here, right? Which means I need to condense all of these shots into before here, which I think I can do pretty believably. In fact, probably all I have to do is cut off this clip at the end. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do W and that's it. And let's see how that works.
Collect just one thing, earrings. I always pick up a pair when I travel. I make quite a lot of them. It's my go-to gift to ask for, and I have a pair for every occasion. I have over 100 pairs of earrings, but my problem has always been storage until today. They were in this frumpy hanging jewelry organizer, and I wanted a better way to store and display them, so I invented it. Yes.
And then the final shot, let's go grab it from the actual footage bin. So let's go into the A7S III bin. And what do you think? Should I use the one where I'm holding it, or should I use the one where it's hanging on the wall? Well, how about the one where I'm holding it, but make it fancier? So here's the one where I'm holding it, right? The difference here between sad Valentina and happy Valentina, this is an attention getter right here, right? So how about we do a split screen? I'll go I to select the endpoint of that clip. Yeah, I think I like the smile. So I'm going to select O for the smile and I a little bit before that. Okay. And then what I can do is I can drag just the video. So just this section of the clip where I'm showing it off and smiling, I'll drag just this section over here where it says final shot. So right now it looks like this.
Here's how I created this beautiful piece of functional art. But first, I need to change piece of functional art.
So there we go. And I'm going to resize it, but I want it to be a similar size to the previous shot. So I'm going to change the opacity on it a little bit so I can see through it, and then scale it to where it sort of matches, because I moved back. I moved my camera back. So the scaling's not going to be exact, but I can do my best to estimate it by turning the opacity down. There we go. Oh, there we go. Let's turn the opacity back up. Let's see it.
I invented it. Yes, here's how I created this beautiful piece of functional art. But first, I need to change into...
Okay, so I want it to slide in. I want it to slide in and sort of be like a picture in picture, right? So the first thing I'm going to do with this shot that's on top is add a little bit of a crop effect. So I'm going to go to effects, look up crop right there, drop it onto the shot, and then crop the left and the right. Let's make it a little smaller so that we have a little bit more of a severe crop, and then move it to the right half of the screen. There we go. There we go. Now what I want to do is I want, as the after shot is moving from the right side of the screen to the middle of the screen, I want the before shot to move to the left, right? So I want both of them to sort of move at the same time. So I'm going to set a keyframe on both of them where their movement should end. And I'm going to set a keyframe on both of them where their movement should start. So let's go to where I think their movement should end.
Invented it? Yes. Here's how I created this.
So yeah, right at the beginning of where I marked final shot, that's where the movement should end. So I'm going to go on to both of the tracks one at a time, the bottom track here, position. I'm going to keyframe it. So I'm going to press the stopwatch next to the word position. Press that. Then I'm going to select the top layer here, press the stopwatch next to the word position. Then I'm going to go to the very beginning of this clip right here by moving my playhead, which this playhead and this playhead, same playhead, right? I move this one, the bottom one moves. So I'm going to move it to the beginning of this clip and place another keyframe there by using the add keyframe button. So now you can see there's two keyframes. There's one for the end of the motion. There's one for the beginning of the motion. I'm going to do the same thing here on the bottom layer and add a keyframe. Now this one, right, the keyframe is added in the middle of the clip because the clip itself is longer. So, but as you can see, there's still no motion, right? It still just appears. That's because I haven't actually added any motion. I just added keyframes, but they're all the same values. If both keyframes are at the same value, there's not going to be any motion. If you change the value of one of them, then it'll slowly transition from one to the other. So let's go to the first keyframe of this half, which is this keyframe, right? How do I jump right on it? Well, I'll use the select previous keyframe button right here. And then I'll slide over the position all the way off the screen. I'll do the same thing for the bottom layer, the before, except I'll change the ending keyframe instead of the beginning keyframe. So I'll go to the ending keyframe and I'll move it over off to the side here. Let's see what that looks like.
I invented it? Yes. Here's how I created this beautiful piece of functional art.
Okay. And then, but first, right, I need to put the shirt on. And remember that shirt transition right here, it's supposed to be at this marker. So I'm going to select both of these clips, move it over so that it jumps into that marker.
Beautiful piece of functional art. But first, I need to change into something I won't mind ruining. That's better.
Okay, and that's it. And from here, it is just QW Command K, QW Command K. You'll see how I edit this video in the next 2 minutes. It's wild how fast this goes.
To build this, I need an old poster frame with a cardboard.
W.
This plastic black mesh.
I'm going to use
plastic black mesh.
This plastic black mesh. So I'm going to use, right, I'm going to say Q.
This plastic black mesh.
W.
I got from the fabric store. Scissors. Black acrylic paint. A foam brush. Super glue. A fabric poker. A fabric poker.
Oh, it jumped off. The focus jumped off, right? So I'm going from the fabric poker closed to open, but as I open it, the focus, as you can see, jumps off slightly. It goes back to like the middle ground, which I don't want. But I do like the action of the fabric poker opening. Now I have this action at the end of the fabric poker closing, and there is no jumping off of the focus. So guess what? I'm going to use that, but reverse the speed. So I'm going to go into Q here, W where it closes, and then I'm just going to right click it, go to speed duration, and reverse the speed. So it looks like I'm opening it instead.
Blue, a fabric poker, and a needle with black thread. Let's start. Let's start. First, I took out the cardboard from the frame and put the frame away.
I took out the cardboard from the frame, so I need to take out the cardboard from the frame, right? So there we go. Q.
First, I took out the cardboard from the
and I can just go fully Command K, Q, Command K.
I took out the cardboard from the frame and put the frame away until the very end.
Until the very end. A, that selects everything. I'm going to scooch it over just to give more breathing room to that first clip.
Cardboard from the frame and put the frame away until the very end. Then I covered the cardboard with black acrylic paint.
I like this motion of me dripping the paint, but it's just too long. So I want to speed it up. And instead of going right click, speed duration, and changing the speed here, I'm just going to use the rate stretch tool, which is the R tool. So right now I'm on the select tool, which is V. I'm going to go to R. That changes my cursor to the rate stretch tool. As you can see, it looks like this. It's this little red squiggly. And then I'm just going to stretch it. So now it looks like this.
And then I covered the cardboard with black acrylic paint. Covered the cardboard with.
And then I'll go to right there.
With black acrylic paint.
I right clicked in the gap in order to fill it. And here I don't need everything, right? I just need like a little bit of each of these steps. I recorded for hours. This video is going to be less than 2 minutes long.
It kind of looked patchy at first, so
I added a second coat so I can jump way farther in here. Like way farther. Like right there.
At first, so I added a second coat. In hindsight, I probably should have used a brush instead of the foam thing since it's absorbed so much paint. This took about an hour to fully. Now remember, in the back of my mind, I also know that I have a second angle to play with. So I'm also thinking about that. I'm like, where do I put the second angle? Where's that second angle going to come in? Hour to fully dry, but I was impatient, so I started cutting out the mesh to kind of fit the size of the cardboard.
I like where I kind of look at it and nod.
This took about an hour to fully dry. But I was impatient, so I started cutting out the mesh to kind of fit the size of the cardboard.
This whole thing could be sped up, rate stretched.
Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the black side of the cardboard.
I don't need this whole thing with me putting it onto the cardboard. I can just do the super gluing part. Then I super glued the edges of the mesh. See how I'm just running through it? Basically taking a DIY that I spent like 6 hours on and making it, just going through the edit, just
of the mesh to the black side of the cardboard.
Somebody said that mesh rocks, by the way. It does.
To the black side of the cardboard. Ended up using 2 super glue tubes. This wasn't a permanent solution, just something to hold the mesh in place. Then I used the fabric. Pokey thing to poke holes along all 4 sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread later. When the super glue was dry, I trimmed off the
So I'm just doing a regular old QW Command K, R for rate stretch. Now I've thrown that in.
Holes along all four sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread later. When the super glue was dry, I trimmed off the excess mesh.
I think to make it easier for my needle and thread later should be that clip.
Needle and thread. When the super glue was dry,
this is me trimming off.
When the super glue was dry, I trimmed off the excess mesh.
That is that whole clip. And I don't even need, you see how much I have and how much left I really need? Look how many clips I have left to play with. And look how much voiceover I have left to play with. I love it when I see that I'm almost done, essentially. Like, I don't need any of these clips here. I thought I needed them, right? But
not a single earring. Painstaking process of sewing. I then went through the painstaking process of sewing.
Oh my gosh, this is too funny because I think this is a good opportunity, you know, to introduce comedy into something.
Mesh. I then went through the painstaking process of,
because look at my face right here. I'm just so concentrated. Sorry. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm actually going to zoom into 150%. A lot of people will be like, what? That's pixel loss. It doesn't matter. This is YouTube. People zoom into 300% all the time.
Process of sewing each side, trying to evenly distribute the
rate stretch, R,
the pressure. This took maybe an hour. When it was finally done, it looked like this. I added the frame back on. It looked like this. I added the frame back on. It fit quite snugly this time. Then I laid out where I wanted my earrings to go and threaded the hooks through the mesh. Ta-da!
And almost done, basically, with this whole video.
Hooks through the mesh. Ta-da! Art. Threaded the hooks through the mesh. Ta-da! Art. And now before you comment that I'm sure
let me get some really good shots here at the end. There we go. Let me get rid of these.
Art. Art.
Did I get a close up? I think I did. Gonna not use this one. Now, I shot these all handheld. They're a little shaky. So I'm going to throw some warp stabilizer on it just to help myself out a little bit.
Off my earring collection and someone could steal it. Someone could steal it. Not a single earring here is worth more than $2. Someone could steal it. Not a single earring here. Not a single earring here is worth more than $2. Here is worth more than $2.
There we go.
Here is worth more than $2.
Oh, there we go.
I just like looking at them.
And that's it. That's the whole video. Bam. edited live for you right in front of your eyes. Hold on, let me get some water. One sec. Let me play back for you while I get some water. This is without the second angle, by the way.
Hi, I'm Valentina V, and I collect just one thing, earrings. I always pick up a pair when I travel. I make quite a lot of them. It's my go-to gift to ask for, and I have a pair for every occasion. I have over 100 pairs of earrings, but my problem has always been storage until today. They were in this frumpy hanging jewelry organizer, and I wanted a better way to store and display them, so I invented it. Yes, here's how I created this beautiful piece of functional art. But first, I need to change into something I won't mind ruining. That's better. To build this, I needed an old poster frame with the cardboard, this plastic black mesh I got from the fabric store, scissors, black acrylic paint, a foam brush, super glue, a fabric poker, and a needle with black thread. Let's start. First, I took out the cardboard from the frame.
Okay, so as I'm watching this, I'm already seeing things that I want to add. For example, the let's start. Hello, that's a perfect opportunity for a zoom.
Thread. Let's start. First, I took out the cardboard from the frame and put the frame away until the very end. Then I covered the cardboard with black acrylic.
And this has a little bit of a lens breathing situation right there. So let's not use that part of it. So I'm going to trim it there and then re-rate stretch it.
I covered the cardboard with black acrylic paint. It kind of looked patchy at first, so I added a second coat. In hindsight, I probably should have used a brush instead of the foam thing since it absorbs so much paint. This took about an hour to fully dry, but I was...
And of course, we have so much dead space right here that I would want to reframe it. There we go.
This took about an hour to fully dry, but I was impatient, so I started cutting out the mesh to kind of fit the size of the cardboard. Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the black side of the cardboard. Ended up using 2 superglue tubes. This wasn't a permanent solution, just something to hold the mesh in place. Then I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all 4 sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread later. When the superglue was dry, I trimmed off the excess mesh. I then went through the painstaking process of sewing each side, trying to evenly distribute the pressure. This took maybe an hour. When it was finally done, it looked like this. I added the frame back on. It fit quite snugly this time. Then I laid out where I wanted my earrings to go and then threaded the hooks through the mesh. Ta-da! Art. And now before you comment that I'm showing off my earring collection and someone can steal it, not a single earring here is worth more than $2. I just like looking at them.
Great. Okay. So the last step I would do before I go into color and graphics, which I think are going to be imperative for this, is of course putting in that B-roll. But before I do that, I like to save this version. So I'm going to right click, go to reveal sequence and project. Right now it says O1 with VO. I'm going to hold down command, drag it down to duplicate it. I'm going to say O2 with B-roll or with second angle. And actually, I have thought about this and it cuts off my head here, which is really, really weird. So I'm going to trim it left a little bit. And then on the out point of this movement, I'm going to move it over a little bit and then open up the right side so that it looks like that, so that you can see my full face. Wow, what a difference. What a difference in face. I mean, gross, fantastic. Okay. So let's bring in that second angle and any other B-roll that I want. I'm going to go over to the iPhone X Max. Now, as you can see, this is just like the actual video. This isn't like, a time lapse whatsoever. So I'm going to have to time lapse this stuff if I want it to go in there and actually make any sense. So we start with the painting. So I can just skip all this stuff and get straight to the painting portion of it, like here.
Cardboard with black acrylic paint. It kind of looked patchy at first, so I added a second coat. Acrylic paint.
Okay, so maybe I'll do in there, I'll add because we're talking about it looking patchy, right? And this definitely shows it looking patchy. So I'm going to go I. Right before the second coat is added. Oh, so this whole section that looks patchy, let me bring that in. And of course, it is super long. So I'm just going to rate stretch it shorter.
It kind of looked patchy at first, so I added a second coat. In hindsight, I probably should have used a brush instead of the foam. In hindsight, I added a second coat.
And then the in hindsight portion, probably going to pop into that overhead again. There we go. I think having a second angle is just super, super useful to just kind of punch up that video and make it a little bit, more something. But what I want here is, here I have this clip and I've put on my second angle up top. However, then it just continues and it's kind of look weird.
Added a second coat. In hindsight, I probably should have used a brush instead of the foam thing since it's absorbed so much paint.
Right, because time passed. Here I still have a dollop of paint on the canvas, just like I had before. But in the time lapse, I've already painted over that dollop. So instead of doing something like this, where I put in a cut, I go C, I put in a cut, I bring this out, I expand the timeline, I extend it, then I try to find the place where my time lapse left off. Okay, it left off there. Okay, let's put it in so that it follows more chronologically.
Instead of the foam thing, since it's absorbed so much paint, this took about an hour to.
Right? That's what I want to do, but that took so many steps. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to do it shorter. So let me undo all that. Undo, 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 undo. So it's back to just that dollop, right? What I want to do is I want to keep the beginning and end cut points from the timeline here, but I want to choose a different section of this clip. I want to choose a section that happens later. So I'm going to pop into the slip tool, which is the Y tool. So now my cursor has changed to the slip tool. And as I click and hold onto this clip and move left and right, you can see here a new display happening. And this display shows me my new in frame and my new out frame. And I can literally slip underneath the actual clip to later in it and get there a lot quicker. So now I'm here already.
So much paint. This took about an hour to fully dry, but I was impatient, so I started cutting out the mesh to kind of fit the size of the cardboard.
Now with the cutting out the mesh, I can always zoom in on that. What I'm essentially trying to do is make this as dynamic as humanly possible because I only have two angles, right? So if the action is just on one portion of the screen, why not? Why not pop in to that portion of the screen? Also, Devil Cat is watching you, just saying.
Mesh to kind of fit the size of the cardboard. Then I superglued the edges of the mesh to the black side of the cardboard. Ended up using two super glue tubes.
So let's go to the overhead where I'm super gluing and just use that time lapse here. Because that would be a good opportunity to use that time lapse. Pop that in, rate stretch tool. There we go. And by the way, I should probably have all of these second angle shots in a different color. I'm going to do that. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to label, and I'm going to label them yellow. And that's what I'm going to do here in the bin as well, so that later when I'm color correcting, it's just easier for me to color correct all of them at once.
This wasn't a permanent solution, just something to hold the mesh in place. Then I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all four.
And again, the pokey thing, what do you call it? What do you call the pokey thing? Does anyone know? Can anyone tell me? The fabric poker. The fabric poker. Oh, I think it's actually not in my project. I didn't drag that clip in yet. So let me do that because I don't see it in there. The fabric pokey clip, obviously. You got to have the fabric pokey clip. Which one is it? Good question, me. I'm guessing it's this one. No, it isn't. It is this one. Yes. Okay. Nope. Maybe I didn't record second angle on the fabric pokey, which doesn't seem like me, but oh no, this is the fabric pokey. Part of this, I see. So part of this time lapse that I created is the fabric pokey thing. So that's great because it's already here. So there we go. So this is the gluing part. I'm going to cut, and then the fabric pokey part I'm going to put over here. Perfect. And I have plenty of stuff to work with because I already rate stretched it to over 1200%. So
tubes. This wasn't a permanent solution, just something to hold the mesh in place. Then I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all four sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread later. I used the fabric pokey thing to poke holes along all four sides of the cardboard to make it easier for my needle and thread later. When the super glue was dry, I trimmed off the excess mesh.
And I'm going to zoom in on this one so that it's not a jump cut.
Later. When the super glue was dry, I trimmed off the excess mesh. I then went through the painstaking process of sewing each side, trying to evenly distribute the pressure. This took maybe...
When I'm talking about how long this took, definitely need to use this clip that I shot in time-lapse mode already.
Pressure. This took maybe...
But I can speed it up even more by using the rate stretch tool.
Be an hour. When it was finally done, it looked like this. I added the frame back on. It fit quite snugly this
Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm basically done with this video. The only thing I would do is maybe add some music and graphics, but that's it. So if I wanted to add just some basic graphics, like for example, in my little let's go close up here, right? Where is it? Right there.
black thread. Let's start,
right? So I could just go to the text tool, the type tool right here, and start typing on the screen itself. And then another one, start. Right? Of course, it's like default, it's kind of whatever, but I can change it. So if I go to essential graphics, you can see if I go to edit, I have let's and I have start. So let's start with the word let's. Let's change it. Let's. How many times have I said the word let's? Let's change it to dazzle unicase. That looks amazing. Yes. Oh, we stand dazzle unicase. There we go. And then let's make it bright yellow. There we go. Let's give it a little bit of a shadow. And now you see how I'm adding like a million little things to it? right? And you're probably like, dang, now she's going to add it to the other one too. Like that's going to take forever. Not so, because I'm going to create a master style. So I like the way that Let's looks with the dazzle. So I'm going to go to styles here. I'm going to go create style, and we can create a style, and it's going to be the highlight. That's what I'm going to call it, highlight. Okay. So now when I select the word start over here as a layer, I can go over here to styles and I can use highlight. And there we go. And of course it covers my face, and we love that, but maybe we don't want it to cover my face. So let's not make it cover my face. Let's do a little bit of a mask, at least on that side of my face. So the first thing I'm going to do is maybe duplicate this by holding down Alt and dragging up. So now I have two of these exact same layers. I'm going to delete the word start from the bottom one. First, thread. Let's start. And then I'm going to start the top one. I'm going to delete the word let's. I'm going to start the top one right when I say the word start. And then I'm going to go over to, while this start word is selected, I'm going to go over to effect controls, over here to opacity, and use the pen tool to highlight everything that isn't my face. There we go. And the mask feather's 10. That's fine. So let's see. Let's start. Cool. I can even do a little bit of a keyframe on that mask path because I move my face slightly. So let's go to where I end up, where my face ends up. And there we go. Start. First, and the thing is, like, even though you can't read let's start, it's kind of like magazine covers, you know, Glamour or Cosmopolitan, you have the face in front of it, but you already know what it is. In this case, you know what it is because I literally say it. So I could also use the same font or adjust it for all of these little headers here. So if I go and start typing in like scissors, right? There we go. But maybe I want to adjust it a little bit. Maybe I want it to be like smaller, and I want it to be a little farther apart, and maybe I want it to be white instead of, there we go, instead of that highlighter color. And I want it to be centered. I want it to grow from the center. I want it to be centered. What I can do is I create a new style, centered text white. And then all I got to do is just cut it up into sections for each of the lower thirds, and then just write new stuff. So paint, then move it over here. This one, brush, move it over here. Let's do super glue, make sure it's centered. Pokey thing, poker. And needle. Let's do needle, and let's duplicate this layer because we can create a second one. And thread. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Did we just finish the video? Indeed we did. So let's go to, let's see. Oh, no, I mean, we can add a basic color correction to it too, if we want. So what I like to do is just move all of the graphics up to like a higher level. So I'm going to go select all the graphics, hold down Alt, click up, maybe one more, maybe two more. Okay. all of the yellow, I'm going to right click, label, select label group. That selects all of the yellow ones. I'm going to move them up here to V4. Cool. So then I can create a new bin. Right now I have footage sequences audio, create a new bin called O4 graphics, and then create a new adjustment layer, put that adjustment layer on top of all my A cam footage here. And now onto that adjustment layer, I can add my color correction. I think it's a little too yellow, so I'm going to make my colors a little bit less saturated and bring down the highlights a little bit. There we go. So that's my color correction for that. I can even compare it with that second angle if I want. I can go to the comparison view button over here and choose a section of the video where it's my second angle, just to make sure that, okay, I feel like it could be a little bit warmer just to match my second angle a little bit and a little bit greener. So there we go. There we go. And done. Cool. That's it for today. Let's let's export this. Actually, before we export it, let's see what Premiere can do with turning this video into a square automatically. So now that we have O2 with second angle, right click, reveal sequence and project, right click, let's do duplicate, and O2 with second angle, square. Now, if we just change it to a square by just changing the sequence settings, going to sequence settings, and then changing it to 1080 by 1080, what it'll do is it'll cut out the center of things, right? But we've added some stuff. Looks like this is still doing pretty good, actually. This is adjusted. I mean, we can readjust a few things here, like the end thread, move that up, but it did pretty good, but it only cut out the center. The good thing is that I was already pretty centered with everything that I was doing, but let's see what it does if it's no, I think I think that this is pretty good, but you could do it automatically too, where it'll recenter things for you if things aren't centered. For example, this could be a little bit better centered, right? This would have to be manually moved over to be a little bit better centered. We could probably do a little bit better if we go back to the with second angle. Right click, reveal sequence and project. There it is. We can right click and we go to auto reframe sequence, make it a square, create. And there it auto reframes the sequence, not just cutting out the center, but literally like recognizing what's in the frame and reframing it. Like, for example, here in the top, it recognized that the action is happening at a certain point and it's focusing on the action. Oh, I also wanted to throw in a warp stabilizer at the end. That's right. I almost forgot. So here, these last couple of clips where I show the actual, let me turn the adjustment layer off just so that we're not getting confused with the color correction. And let's, right now it's analyzing for auto reframe. So let me just turn that off by deleting that. Great. So that it plays through. You see how it's a little bit shaky? I mean, it's still pretty good because I'm a pretty smooth
and someone could
shooter,
steal it.
but it's still a little bit shaky, like especially that one with the actually I'm gonna highlight the egg earrings even more. If I go to effects and I type in warp stabilizer and then I just drop the effect in, I like using stabilize only and then zooming in myself, since this is already zoomed in. It's fine, but let's take a look at what that looks like. Ooh. Remember how it was shaky before? Now it's nice and smooth. Look at the difference. Let me do this one too. Look at how shaky it is. Let's pop on that warp stabilizer. I hope you learned something new today. Nor said Premiere is still scary, but this stream is very accessible to beginners like me. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, I gotta render it. So I'm gonna go I-O sequence, render into out, just so you can preview it. There we go. Wow, look at that. Look at how smooth that is. Compare that to without. Shaky, shaky, and with nice and smooth. So we learned a lot of fun things today. We learned about rate stretching. We learned about warp stabilizer, about graphics, master styles. I feel like I threw in a lot of tips, and this live stream will be available after. So in case you didn't catch everything, you can watch it again. Till 2 weeks from now, see y'all. Bye.